So in the last video we got the character and the enemy down and made some massive progress on the core foundation and progression systems. Today we're continuing to build on those systems and adding some equipment to the game. Equipment is absolutely crucial for progression, so I spent a lot of time trying to polish the system for the prototype. First step was to add an inventory where gear can go once you pick it up. There's not a whole lot to say about this. I mean, it's an inventory. It does inventory things, you know? Then I added a tooltip for the items because the player needs to know what the f they just picked up from the ground. How hard can it be? It's literally just an image with some text on it, right? This tooltip caused me so much pain, and I'll tell you why. Event systems. This thing is supposed to detect when different mouse events are happening, you know, like clicking, moving your cursor over something, etc. Well, this thing absolutely sucks at updating on its own, so I had to write a bunch of manual code to make it update when dragging and dropping items. It's so easy to get things going at first, but god, what a pain. Let's be real, this is probably 20% the system's fault and 80% my fault, but they should be held accountable for my single-digit IQ, so in reality, it is their fault. After this, I moved on to making a second inventory because I just can't get enough of these inventories. This one is meant to hold gear when you equip it, so it's kind of like what you see when you go to a character customization screen, except mine doesn't support different type of equipment yet. After this, I started working on the drag and drop, which thanks to the event systems was an amazing experience with no frustration involved. I love event systems. Now we just gotta make the equipment actually do stuff once you equip it, so time to write some code. Dragging equipment into your equipment slot finally works, and even though you can't see it, numbers are being changed. Take my word for it, or else. I added item levels to the items so that they get better once the mobs are getting tougher, cause otherwise there would be absolutely zero progression in items. What is this? The tooltip is back with a new bug. This time it's not even the event system's fault. It's Unity's UI that can't update on its own, so you literally gotta call a function called layout rebuilder force rebuild layout immediate. Is it just me, or shouldn't this stuff be happening on its own? Anyways, I encountered a new problem. I picked up a bunch of items and now I can't pick up any more of them. So how am I supposed to win the game if I can't get better gear? Drop items, you say? Ha, what a normie thing to say. Dropping items doesn't release any dopamine. In fact, it probably kills a portion of dopamine for each item you have to throw away. What's the solution? We sell the item so we can get monies. Sweet, sweet monies that we then can cash in for dopamine, serotonin, endorphins, you name it. Money literally equals happiness and everyone knows it. Speaking of dopamine, I added some text for a bunch of things to improve feedback. Like when you level up or when upgrades are dropped. Now it's finally starting to look like a real asset flip mobile game. Perfect. Here I had some real struggles in making sure that you couldn't get the same upgrade twice. But what's game dev without some fun bug fixing and cleaning up old code you don't even remember what it does anymore? Second on the list was mobs. They desperately needed a dying animation. So once again, I spent weeks on creating the perfect animation so that I can sleep at night knowing I made all the art assets for my game. Either way, I started feeling lost. I was losing track and I wasn't really sure where I was going or what I was even doing. So I called my friend who has like 1,000,000 hours in Path of Exile to help me out. Naturally, his first instinct was to meta the living shit out of my game. So he found out that you could become invincible by dying. Probably should have thought about that before sending the build over. Next up, he started, I mean, just look at this. No words can describe the actual clown fiesta going on here. He then proceeded to show me what a real game looks like and explain what buttons he was pressing and why it made his brain go yes. I analyzed his feedback for about 5 minutes and realized my game is lame as sh*. There's only one thing that I could do at this point to fix it, and I knew exactly what it was. It was time to up the game pace. Dashes, abilities, movement speed, more mobs, more everything. I had a plan. I felt alive. I was gonna get all of this done in one evening. So dashes are usually not too bad to program, but when you forget to turn on pathfinding or tell Unity where your character is actually standing, you get some interesting features. Afterwards, I had the brilliant idea to finally fix the grass problems I was facing in the previous episode. I encountered a bug I've literally never seen in my life in Unity. My cursor is right now not actually where my cursor is. Like, how does this even happen? After tweaking 1,000,000 settings, I ended up with grass that looks like a football field, and at this point I knew it was time to just give up. Now, After all this struggle, I could finally focus on adding some new content, and there was one thing that had been on my mind since the first day. The game needed a second type of monster, and I came up with the Crawler. This little fella deals less damage and has less HP than the Brute, but he crawls super fast. I had to add some animations to the guy, so once again I tried the masking system, and once again I fucked it up. I settled on a punch into the ground animation and decided to revisit it later. Spoiler, I never did. And we were good to go. Now with the new dash and the crawling pleb, things were looking bright again. I felt like the game was going somewhere and everything just felt so satisfying. But we needed more. I tried a nighttime setting but wasn't sold on the concept, but maybe it could work with a day and night cycle if you added some lights and stuff. Let me know what you think in the comments. Now it was time for the big update. The update that changed everything. It was tough. It took time. I struggled. I cried a little bit. But it was all worth it. Items were now divided into gear slots, at least the code said so. I was also really tired of seeing the orange squares in my inventory, so I just had to do something about it. This time I actually made some stuff myself. I drew some images of equipment that I would later on use for the inventory using my professional drawing skills. What the fuck? These look like socks. Like, what are those? I fixed up the gear inventory and added some shaded icons so that, well, you know, players know where to put stuff. I mean, it won't be super helpful to wear a helmet on your foot. And boom, everything worked like... Wait, let's try that again. Boom, everything worked out and it felt fantastic. I made a rarity system for the items so that rare items get more stats assigned to them and matched up the loot beams. Like, look at this, so many colors. Next on the list was to add an ability. My idea for this ability is to be upgradable, perhaps using the shop where you get to purchase abilities that stack on top of each other. So you have your basic projectile, which has effects, you have a dash, which maybe will be upgradable in the future, and lastly an ability which by default is like a shockwave or nova, but it can be upgraded to also become like a shield, a damage over time field, a movement speed buff, endless possibilities. They all stack on top of each other in one ability, and it's up to the player to utilize the combinations they've gathered to their full potential. Now, with the new ability, the dash, the monster scaling, the entire item update, it was time for the final test. It was time to bring in the Path of Exile Nerd again. Hey you. The fuck? Yeah, you. Are you talking to me? Listen, it'd be a shame if something were to happen while your friend is playtesting, huh? Is this real? Yeah, perhaps some game-breaking bugs? No, don't do that. Don't do that. Well, what are you gonna do about it, huh? No, please, come on. I worked really hard on this thing. Too late now. Please? No. Bye. That was all for this video, but thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like the video and comment down below if you have any ideas for my game. And also don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already so that you don't miss out on the next episode. That's all from me. See ya!
#1 victory royale. Yeah, Fortnite, we bout to get down. 10 kills on the board right now.